Mr. Chairman, Mr. Morton, I will tell you from this vantage point, it does look like the decision to release detainees was a political determination and not a monetary determination. It appears to me that the release of detainees was part of a sequester campaign that included the fictional firing of teachers, the closing of the White House for student tours, the displacement of meat inspectors, and now we're going to release aggravated felons, some aggravated felons, onto the street. Now, I've counted 6 times you have said you didn't want to rob Peter to pay Paul. I don't want Peter or Paul to rob one of our fellow citizens because you guessed wrong on who to release. So, what is a level 1 violator?
A level 1 offender. First, I obviously disagree with your characterization about these being political.
Well, that's fine. You can use your time to disagree with my characterization. Don't use mine. What is a level 1 violator?
With regard to level 1 offenders, they are aggravated felons.
And how many were released?
There are 4 presently.
How many were released?
8 were released. We have 4 presently released.
And what went wrong with the other 4?
What's that?
Why were there 8 released and only 4 currently?
So the 2 were released when the computer records were not correct, and we went back and we looked at them and we brought them back in. 1 was a mistake, and then
what kind of mistake?
Just where the instructions to the field were not carried out correctly.
All right. So, if it's $122 a day to house 4 level 1 aggravated felons, then releasing them saves you what? About $600 a day?
Each day. That's right.
All right. You can't find $600 anywhere else in your budget?
We make determinations on a case-by-case basis. We've got to
find $600 somewhere else in your budget?
The question is whether that $600 is well spent on those people or someone else. And when it comes to somebody who's been a 44-year lawful permanent,
I'm not talking about the 44. Was he a level 1?
I'm going to find $600.
Was he a level 1?
Something else.
Was he a level 1, Mr. Morton?
He is a level 1 offender.
He was one of the 4 that you released?
No, that he is released. That's right.
Okay. Mr. Morton, who made the decision to release detainees as part of your effort to comply with sequestration?
The determination was made by Mr. Meade, the Executive Associate Director for Enforcement and Removal Operations, in consultation with the Chief Financial Officer.
Who was John Sandwig?
Mr. Sandwig works for the Secretary.
Were there any conversations with him?
Not that I am aware of.
Were there any conversations with the Secretary?
Not that I'm aware of. I think the Secretary has noted that she was surprised and regretted the timing and the notification, and I agree with that.
If the release of aggravated felons does not rise to the level of something that the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security should know about, what does rise to the level?
Listen, we release people every day, and the idea that we are going to review every single person that is released.
You release thousands of people every day?
We release thousands of people every month. We operate in a system. We had 407.
But you don't blame it on sequestration, do you, Director Morton?
What's that?
You don't blame it on sequestration when you release the others. No. It's not part of this. It's not part of this strategy to get the public fired up that mayhem is upon us. That we're closing the White House for tours. That we're firing teachers in West Virginia. We're going to have to release level 1 aggravated felons because of sequestration.
First of all, that was never said. And the system allows for the release on supervision of people going through immigration proceedings. We are not detaining people for penal reasons solely for purposes of removal. And as I've said, the vast majority of people in proceedings by statutory design are not mandatory detention cases.
Who are level 2 violators, offenders?
They are either multiple misdemeanors or felons that Congress has defined as something other than...
And DUI would be a misdemeanor, right?
DUI would...
First offense? How about second offense?
Depends on state law, but most times...
Well, how about the states where you release people? Did you release any recidivist drunk drivers?
Yes.
How many?
I don't have the exact number, but we have released many individuals who had DUI offenses.
Repeat offender DUI?
Repeat offender DUIs. Most of them were single offenders, but some would be DUIs. I would note, for the record, Mr. Gowdy, Congress has not provided that a DUI is a ground of removal. In fact, most misdemeanors are not a ground of removal. It is the agency, by agency policy, that factors that in. I can't order you removed for having committed a DUI offense.
No, you can't, Director, but you certainly can request a programmatic rescheduling so you can move money around. And this notion that you don't want to rob Peter to pay Paul, you could have easily done that. You could have found $600 to keep these level 1 violators from being released, and don't act like you could not have. With that, Mr. Chairman, I would ask unanimous consent to move in a document titled Addressing CR Issue through March 31st and Sequestration from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement.
Thank you. Without objection, so ordered. The chair now recognizes the gentleman from Virginia, Mr. Scott, for 5 minutes.